at least come here and try. One thing that I've learned is that if you put in just like 10% of effort, you can get 90% reward. Just network, network, network. It is 100% about who you know if you want to get anywhere out here. A lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and languages can still come to Korea and be prosperous.
This is Brian from How is Korea. Welcome back to our interviews. Today we have a very exciting topic, which is working in Korea. So we have a special guest who's an expert at that. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Clark from Brown Beauty Abroad. I started a company out here in Gangnam last year. It's actually a tech company, and I also work as a business consultant and content creator out here. So I'm excited to share with Brian here how maybe some of you out there can do it too.
Absolutely. So make sure you go ahead and check her out on her YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
Yes.
But let's get into this topic because we have a lot to talk about today, right? So, let's start from your career path. Mm-hmm. And I know it's been a very interesting one. What has been your career journey here in Korea?
All right. It's been a lot of being an opportunist, essentially. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people are pessimists, optimists. I'm the opportunist. Any type of opportunity I see, I will take. So that's how I ended up with the working holiday visa. So a lot of Americans actually don't know about this because a lot of Americans think you can either be a student, military, or a teacher, or married. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really interested in any of those paths, even though I did study at Yonsei a few years beforehand.
Right.
So I hopped on the working holiday visa after I saw a YouTube video about it. So YouTube is the GOAT. So I was on that for 18 months, and while I was on the working holiday visa, I found out about the business visa. And I was already an entrepreneur before then. I was the kid in elementary school selling coloring book pages to the other kids. Mm-hmm. So that was already in my spirit. So once I learned I could do that out here, just pretty much hopped straight over from working holiday visa.
Man, and was it just straight to starting your company, or there were a couple of other steps that you took in between?
Yeah, so I took the business classes that are offered from the government, and then once you get a few of those certificates, get a patent. I actually won a patent contest, so my patent was for free.
What was your patent about?
My patent, it's a design patent for my app. So I started a tech company, which is a flashcard-based language learning app. Mm-hmm. So hopefully can release that someday once I get funding. If you know anyone with money, let me know.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, so while I'm building that up, that's why I'm doing business consultations and also content creation. So I'm hoping to build up my audience big enough through like travel content and beauty content, so then I can crowdsource the funds from my future audience to then build the app.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you said you described yourself as an opportunist.
Yes, very much so.
Oh, and what did it look like here? Did the opportunities just come to your way, or did you have to seek out? What did that look like? Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so it was a struggle on the working holiday visa at first. I had to, call my dad to pay my rent the first couple months because it was really hard to find a job. I would do traditional things like Craigslist and let's say a job being a waitress somewhere, and they would say, sure, let's see your picture, and then they see all this melanated goodness, and then I would never hear back from them again because I wasn't the demographic that they were looking for. So that's when I started using my network. In Korea, network, network, network. It is 100% about who you know if you want to get anywhere out here. So I used my network, and then I got a job being a waitress in Itaewon. And that was very humbling. I went from corporate America to being a waitress being paid like $6 an hour by a bar manager who just thought he was like the hottest thing walking. It was just really humbling. So I definitely recommend everybody have some retail experience or some food work experience to get an insider look on how it is to work in that industry and to be nice to these service people.
Right.
But so I was doing that for a while, and then one day my cup ran it over, and I got like 4 job offers in a 24-hour period.
How did that happen?
Well, you just have to keep hustling, even if it doesn't happen overnight. I just kept going, using everyone that I studied back at Yonsei with, Craigslist, using Facebook groups, just like moving all around until I was finally able to land much better jobs than being a waitress in Taiwan.
So, if you don't mind me asking, like the 4 jobs that you were talking about, did you end up taking one of them?
Oh yeah, so since it's working holiday visa, that's kind of like a free-for-all. So I got some interesting gigs, like there's some things that need just foreigners. So for example, places like maybe LG or Samsung, they want to test their gadgets on like the foreign market. So there's a lot of work that you can do where you just give your opinion as being from Western country, or they need somebody with a particular accent to come in and do some work. So yeah, basically I got to hide behind my accent and my nationality to get me way above any of these situations that I was in. But to say, a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and languages can still come to Korea and be prosperous.
This is very interesting because I see a lot of international folks who come here to teach, or in other places. But working holiday visa, it really did open up many doors for you to kind of, I can try this, I can try that. It sounds like.
Definitely taking the not so beaten path really opened my eyes to all the different opportunities and the work that you could do in Korea, just besides being an English teacher, because there's a lot of horror stories tied to English teaching that I did not want to be a part of. So I'm really glad I got to skip that whole journey. There's like gotcha here in Korea. So sometimes if they would try to pull that on me, pull it back, and then it turns into a power struggle, and I know that they need me more than I need them. So then they would act right. So yeah, sometimes you have to strong arm some people.
So for those who do not know what gapjil is, how would you describe that?
Gapjil is basically workplace bullying, workplace harassment, because here in Korea, the hierarchy is everything. So one time my manager, I was working one of my gigs, and the manager told me to do XYZ, so I was doing it, and then another manager saw and said, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Oh, manager A told me to." And apparently manager B asked manager A, and manager A lied and said, "I don't know what Tanaya is talking about. She must have misunderstood." And from the Western perspective, whenever somebody makes a bald-faced lie, our first reaction is to be like, "Liar!" and then send the screenshots. But then I had to think about it. This is Korea, and if I send screenshots of my boss lying, that's just going to make them hate me even more. So maybe just to smooth over everything, just say, "Oh, sorry, teehee." And then it was funny because literally later that same day, the manager again told me to do the thing that she said that she had lied about not telling me. So anyway, yeah. That was just baby gapjil I had to deal with.
Baby gapjil. That's interesting because gapjil we do talk about among Koreans as well. And the new generations, they are not happy with it, and they are like, "No, we're gonna say no to this because we can't do this no more." But that is when we have a job, right? Now you were telling me and then the folks who are watching this that really getting a job in Korea can be tough. What do you think is the toughest part of it all?
I would say the toughest part is going to maybe a cold market where if somebody doesn't know you, they're kind of less likely to trust you, especially if you're from an undesirable demographic or whatever they think. So that's why I said your network is everything. Like a lot of my recent gigs that I've gotten, it's because I knew somebody who worked at the company. They said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to fill this role." And I say, "Hey, I'm the girl just for that." So basically once you build a strong network, especially if you have a strong network of fellow foreign entrepreneurs, if one person can't take the gig, then hot potato on over, and then we all just kind of pay it forward that way.
So network, and network.
Yeah, so you cannot be shy and want to prosper in Korea. Even though Korea in general might be a little introverted, definitely being extroverted will get you a lot more money than being introverted. It's actually much more fun for me to be in a passive environment because everyone just passively avoids the opportunities because they think, oh, I can't do it, I'm scared, the risk. And so while everyone's sitting there looking at the gold, snatch, just my gold now.
I like that. I like that. Now, we talked about some of the challenges that we may face. What would you say the positives of working in Korea?
I would say some positives about working in Korea is that Korea is, an ever-expanding economy. I think, what do we say, like the miracle of the Han, where people are wondering, oh, it went from a war-torn country into now like top 10 economy. So Korea is still doing this a lot of like rapid growth. And especially when it comes to business, like every country wants business and people to stimulate their economy, especially here in Korea where we have the very low birth rate. And then the young people are kind of having like a gender war where they're like, I hate you too. Well, I won't marry you. Well, good. No one's going to have kids anymore. And then it's kind of very tumultuous.
Yeah.
So the government is looking like, okay, in about 20 or 30 years, this is going to spell disaster for us. So right now they're welcoming in the foreigners who want to come and start businesses, stimulate the economy. Maybe we can repopulate the nation. I'm not sure if the Korean government's thinking that far ahead. But yeah, so here is just a great not really a great melting pot, but a great opportunity. I kind of say that people tell me the US is the land of opportunity, but I'm like, there's a lot more of that over here in Korea, especially since they have a very, very, very strong support network for entrepreneurs out here. Like a lot of the support that I got here has been sponsored through the government. So I would say, yeah, if you want to make money, if you want to be entrepreneurial, definitely try that in Korea. They're very supportive, or at least the government is. I can't promise the citizens, but the government is.
Yeah, I had this conversation with my American friends back in America, and they say, "Oh wow, how did you get the government grant? It's such a limited opportunity." But then I tell them, "Well, actually, there's a pretty big bowl of support from the government." So I absolutely agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any other advice for the upcoming international folks interested in working in Korea?
I would say at least come here and try. What a lot of people do is that they're scared to try something, so then they don't try at all. One thing that I've learned is that if you put in just like 10% of effort, you can get 90% reward. It's some type of like cheat code I found out in life, where I just kind of say, oh, I don't qualify for this. I'm gonna apply anyway, and guess what? 9 times out of 10, it works out. So yeah, if you think you're not qualified or this or that, trust me, trying is 90% of the battle, and then 90% of the time, it just ends up working out. So yeah, be audacious, is what I say.
Be audacious. Try and see what happens, and take up the challenge.
Yeah, so you say, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
So let's get to the technicality of this. So what are some other tips to get a job in Korea?
Yeah, so my top tips would be actually surprisingly Craigslist. I know Craigslist is kind of scary in other places. In Korea, it's relatively decent, but also please do not get your kidney harvested. So
yes, we don't want that. Nope.
So there are actually a few different categories that I look at on Craigslist. I look at the gigs category. I also look at the etc/miscellaneous. I look at the film and like acting category. There's like a writing category, so kind of like those areas. And there I can find like gigs for YouTube, or like if somebody's trying to shoot a commercial, if somebody is like a product tester or like some type of survey tester. So Craigslist is a pretty good springboard. And number 2, I also recommend Facebook groups. A lot of Gen Z thinks that only old people use Facebook, but you see, they have old people money that you want to get. So there are a few Facebook groups. One of the biggest ones is Non-Teaching Job Seekers Korea. They have a lot of nice work on there. Also, there's like Expat Women in Korea. That's like a big women's only group here in Korea. And also some of the university groups, so like Yonsei, Iwa, Sogang, sometimes people will post jobs there specifically for college students. I think I found some gigs at Yonsei doing that one. And then also for any like cultural groups, so like if you're French, maybe find a group for like French in Korea and then they'll like throw around jobs just for French people. Or like any type of maybe cultural background or religious background that you might have, just go ahead and like find a group for that in Korea, and then that's where like the community like networks and like spreads to jobs because they want to give it to their own, or at least give their own a chance first before it like spreads out to the broader population.
So we just talked about Craigslist, which is not the Korean version, but Craigslist.
I mean, there is a Craigslist Seoul.
Craigslist Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we talked about Facebook groups.
Yes, definitely.
And then college.
Yeah,
groups.
like the college groups on Facebook, the cultural groups on Facebook, the non-teaching job seekers group on Facebook. That's kind of where I find like 90% of my gigs. And also,
Wow.
I do slide into the DMs of other content creators, because as content creators, we all understand that like we want to get gigs to create content. So if you see somebody who's maybe around your same size, who does similar content on like YouTube, Instagram, etc., yeah, just feel free to slide into the DMs and say, oh hey, fellow content creator friend in Korea, and keep that warm contact going. Make sure to comment on their pictures. If they make a story, put like a fire emoji. Just keep that warm contact going. So when they have an offer that pops up, you're going to be someone that they think of first. I actually shot a commercial with SOFA. They're like a U.S. government organization thing.
Uh-huh.
And I actually got that gig from someone that I met who was also doing YouTube. So they were in Korea doing YouTube, and they were also giving consultations on how to like live and work in Korea. So you would think that this would be like my competition, but I'm thinking, hey, we're both doing similar things. So one day I messaged her and I said, oh, hey, I see you're in Korea and you're also doing consultations. How's business going for you? How do you advertise? This is how I advertise. So we kind of started that little symbiotic relationship. And then she started working at like a marketing agency. And when the marketing agency needed like a foreigner to come in and do XYZ, I'm one of the first people that she's thought of. And then now I got like a very nice gig shooting a commercial like a few days ago.
You reach out for the opportunities, and they ask for pictures, and it's not the demographics they're looking for, to put it a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
How do we overcome that? What would our response be like? What can we do about that?
So what you do is that when you get a no, you keep it pushing. What a lot of expats fall into is that they start becoming very cynical, and they're thinking, no, this isn't fair, woe is me, and then they like throw themselves on the ground and they're like squirming. And sure, that might be fun for all of 2 seconds, but I'm just going to step over said squirming body and continue on with the other opportunities. I mean, if one person says no, that's fine. The next 9 are going to say yes. And even if they don't say yes, I'm going to keep that mentality that they're going to say yes, because it is contagious, and I will hypnotize them into saying yes. And it also works about 90% of the time.
Also, it's their loss. You don't want to work with partners who don't value you as who you are, and so that's okay.
Honestly, personally, I don't even think of it in terms of whose loss it is. I'm thinking they're doing what they think is best for them. Great. I would never tell you to do something that you would say is to your detriment, even if I think it's wrong, but I'm not going to discourage you. Because at the end of the day, I'm also going to do what is best for me, even if you don't like it. So this reminds me of a quote, not really a quote, just something my dad used to tell me. He would tell me, if there's ever a decision that needs to be made where someone's going to be unhappy, make sure it's not you. So that's how I walk through life every day, is no matter what decision, I'm going to make sure that I'm happy. That makes a lot of people mad at me, but I'm happy, so that's all that matters.
Tanaya, this has been such an enlightening talk. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you also enjoy this talk. If you have any questions for Tanaya, you can write us a comment and tell us what you liked. If you have any questions, write it down below. And also, you can find Tanaya at
You can find me at Brown Beauty Abroad on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So my DM's always open. I'm happy to talk to you guys.
There you go. Thank you for watching, and we cannot wait to come back for more content. For now, we say goodbye. Bye!